Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Thursday, May 8th, 2014. I'm starting today with something that's just for fun. After a couple of Facebook battles in the last few days, I decided to put together this little graphic. This evidence would prove me wrong. I am never wrong, therefore this evidence is false. You ever feel like that when you're trying to talk to people that this is their attitude? There are no facts that you can present them with that will alter their opinion. We all encounter a lot of people who are like this, right? Fritz Springer had a new post, "Excellence Avoiding Being Culled" by Fritz Springer. Fritz wrote about population control, past, present, and future. And he's encouraging people to have excellence so that they won't be culled, so that they will be considered valuable enough to be spared. And this is, clearly, this is obviously eugenics. It's uncloaked eugenics. They're not even pretending. They're telling Fritz, yeah, release this information about us. We want to reduce population. So, there's always this fear that the earth isn't big enough for all these people. I have a hard time believing that that's really their reasoning, but I suppose that's easy to sell. I want to first just consider the economic implications of that desire to reduce population. This is an interesting book, The Demographic Cliff: How to Survive and Prosper During the Great Deflation of 2014 through 2019 by Harry S. Dent, Jr. The premise of this book is that when there are fewer people, the economy shrinks. And he, of course, is looking long-term just to get through a cycle where, there happened to be a generation that had fewer people. But any kind of growth increase kind of depends on an increase of people. When there's a contraction in the number of people on the earth, when there are fewer people, it absolutely destroys the economy, and jobs are lost, and it becomes part of the cycle. Fewer people would be able to support themselves if there were fewer people, and this is for goods and services. There aren't as many people to sell to, put quite simply. So again, there's always a contraction, a constriction of the flow of money and goods when there are fewer people. So this, reducing the population, while it might sound like a good idea, it is not. There are people who suffer as a result of the population being decreased. And I'm just in processing this idea of eugenics. I want to address this video, which I listened to. Actually, it's almost 3 hours. I actually listened to the whole thing yesterday. Fade to Black, Jimmy Church with David Wilcock. And I learned about this from a post that David Wilcock made just yesterday or maybe a couple days ago. And he did this interview about a week ago. But this interview is very relevant on a lot of levels. One is the idea of eugenics. They address something really interesting in this video, that nobody has encountered an alien race that is black or has the features of the black races on Earth, or the features of the Aboriginal races on Earth. And they, okay, so this is First of all, yes, I'm bringing up the subject of aliens. If that is to be believed, David Wilcock believes that the indication is that those races are unique to the Earth and are truly native to the Earth, are truly indigenous to the Earth. And if that's the case, and David Wilcock didn't put it this way, but I'm just looking at this eugenics issue. If that's the case, then these people are the ones who really have a claim to the Earth. They're the ones who were put here. The Earth belongs to them. And I'm not saying that I absolutely believe everything that David Wilcock says. This is just one more argument against eugenics. I don't think I'm grasping at straws. I mean, we all know eugenics is wrong, and this is for the Illuminati to believe that it's right to, wipe out large swaths of human life on Earth. It's murder. There is no other way to look at it, and we have always held the Germans in disdain for putting Jews to death, eugenics programs. Well, the same thing is going on, and even if they're soft kill, it's the same thing. And I think it's really important to recognize the Illuminati's coming out. They want to present themselves as kinder and gentler. Well, stop killing people. Stop practicing eugenics. Stop trying to get rid of 95% of us. Okay, then maybe we can talk. But this had some other interesting. This interview there were some other interesting points. One was that David Wilcock absolutely believes that there's not going to be any kind of a crisis or pandemic or Yellowstone caldera blowing up. He believes that that's all just fear-mongering to keep people on edge and to keep people distracted. In many respects, this was a very encouraging interview, and on his website, David Wilcock suggests that people skip to the 29-minute mark. That is probably a good idea. It'll just save you some time and maybe even a little frustration. So I found this encouraging, helpful, thought-provoking. I can't say I believe 100% of what he shared, but I believe a lot of it. And he actually talked even about the global financial reset and just some other very interesting topics. And kind of in the same vein, interestingly enough, Alex Jones had Jordan Maxwell as a guest yesterday. And this was a great interview. And a lot of, things I don't 100% agree with everything that Jordan Maxwell was saying. But there's some of this deeper history is coming out. And I think that we all need to consider it. I think it's a crucial time to keep an open mind, not have this idea. This evidence would prove me wrong. I'm never wrong, therefore this evidence is false. We have been wrong about some things. I know I've been wrong about many things. I've had to apologize to friends. Hey, okay, you were right. I'm sorry, and thank you for persisting with me until I became aware that I was indeed wrong. So considering these ideas is important, and whether you find Jordan Maxwell more palatable or David Wilcock more palatable, I think, one or the other, if not both, these videos are both significant information. And of course, filter it, but filter it with an open mind, if you dare. Yes, there is Russia-Ukraine news this morning, and this is from Prison Planet, but this is first appeared on Zero Hedge. Russia launches 2 ICBMs, rebuffs simulated massive nuclear strike as part of military drill. There still are things going on there. Yesterday it kind of seemed as if the pressure was off, but evidently the whole thing hasn't been completely resolved. I have been seeing this in tweets and on Facebook, and I've been debating whether to actually bring it up or not. But I think that it is news, and although it makes me uncomfortable and unhappy, I think it's something that that we need to be aware of. This article is from Mail Online. Satan worshippers want 7-foot-tall statue of devil put at Oklahoma State Capitol. Now, this is from some time ago. The statue is actually complete. It was completed in New York, and it's going to be moved to Oklahoma soon. And this is a rendering. This is a drawing of the statue, but it looks pretty much like that. And on some Christian news website, I saw that it will probably be placed near the Ten Commandments, and it's going to be on the lawn at the Oklahoma State House. And I kind of find it interesting because I have some dear friends who live in Tulsa, and they are part of a Christian community that is very active in engaging with Oklahoma state government. And I have never really heard the story of how that Baphomet statue came to be. But again, I know that Oklahoma is a very, it sounds silly to use this phrase, but it's a very Christian state in many respects. That's where Oral Roberts University is. A lot of ministries have come out of Oklahoma, and some that I actually happen to respect. So it seems like Oklahoma is kind of a focus right now. There's just a lot of light and dark activity in Oklahoma. There's a lot of fracking. There have been a lot of 2 to 3 point earthquakes, tremors due to fracking in Oklahoma. And now we see this rare earthquake warning issued for Oklahoma. And they are expecting a 5.0 earthquake in Oklahoma sometime in the near future. So I just, I don't necessarily, I'm not drawing any conclusions here. I don't believe God's into judgment. So I don't necessarily believe that an earthquake there would be judgment from God because of the statue. But there are a lot of forces at work there struggling, it seems, for dominance in Oklahoma. So if the Lord puts it on your heart, maybe you can be in prayer for that state. I've had some articles of 10th Amendment Center, really good breakthrough things happening in Oklahoma. So again, there's this struggle that's becoming really pretty evident there. And some of these ideas are heavy enough that I'll try to... the rest of this is all good news. So from Ben Swan, Minnesota, criminal conviction required to seize property. In civil forfeiture cases, law enforcement seizes property that they believe has been involved in a crime. The government then directly sues the item or items in question rather than the owner, and the burden of proof is then placed onto the owner to prove that the property was not part of a crime. The process of going through civil courts to retrieve possessions is costly, sometimes costing more than the seized property itself. And when the government is allowed to seize property without having to prove guilt, there's great potential to abuse that power. So again, Minnesota has changed their law in that regard, and now a criminal conviction is required. They can't just go in and seize property. Another bit of good news from Zero Hedge. House votes to hold former IRS official Lois Lerner in contempt and seek a special prosecutor. I saw that tweet yesterday afternoon and just was very glad to see it and to learn it. So whether this means this will go anywhere, very few people believe that, even though they want to see Obama impeached, very few people believe it will happen because of the inherent racist implications and the accusations that would fall on those who impeach him because of that issue. But of course, we can't set aside justice. I mean, racism, it works both ways. Justice is meant to be blind. And if this president, if there are racial implications behind his being impeached, so be it. If there are just reasons why he needs to be removed from office, then he needs to be removed from office. And for my final bit of good news for today, from Natural News, Latin America strikes back against Imperialist Monsanto. The market with the biggest potential for growth as far as corporate agriculture is concerned is putting its foot down and saying no. Chile, Colombia, and a growing number of other Latin American countries are taking a stand against Monsanto and its ilk by rejecting advancements to further convert their sustenance to the patented seed stocks owned by the biotechnology cabal, a move that could be a major game changer on the GMO front. Good news, and something else that anybody who feels so led can be in prayer about, that they will be able to be strong in Latin America and see this resistance through to the end, and have it indeed result in the beginning of a major pushback against food tyranny. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty by enforcing the Bill of Rights.